So, in today's lecture, we're going to talk about the economic growth model. And more specifically, we are focusing on the Solow model. The Solow model is the simplest form of the models. This is the origin, and it's basically related to, or the developer of this model is Robert Solow. He took the Nobel Prize for coming up with this model that tries to explain economic growth. And the key concept of this model is basically is that capital accumulation, labor, and technology are the main factors affecting long run ability of the economy to grow. So again, remember this topic is all about long run analysis. It's not about the business cycle, because the business cycle approach is a more of a short term analysis. But in this topic, we're just going to talk about long run growth, or the factors affecting the economy to grow over the long run. And again, this graph that I keep drawing, which is time, the years, let's say from 1950 all the way up to 2020, for example, and this is the real GDP, right? We will see periods of ups and downs. We call it business cycles. But this topic is about this line, right? So this is the trend, and this is economic growth. Okay, so this line is the economic growth. Of course, there are many models that try to explain economic growth besides the Solow model. But given that our course is about macroeconomics, is not about economic growth course, so we will not go over all models. We will just get the idea from the core model, which is the origin of the growth models, which is the Solow model. But I want you to know that when if any one of you is planning to take economic growth models, the starting point would be the Solow model, but then you will go into different types of models. One of the famous ones also is called the Harrod-Dommer growth model, and it's basically the developers are two economists, Roy Harrod and Yves Dommer. And also you will see the endogenous growth models, and it's by Paul Romer. I'm sure that you have heard this name. There is also the new classical growth model, which is by Solow, which is again Robert Solow, and Swan, which is an updated version of the Solow model. You will also learn about the new classical growth model, which is again by Robert Solow and Swan, and then the Ramsey-Cass model, and which is made by Ramsey and other two important economists, and then the Lewis model, which is by Arthur Lewis, and I'm sure some of you have heard about the name, exogenous growth models, and again by Robert Solow, and then the last one, unified growth model, and this is by Gallor. So there are about 10 or more economic growth models, but again, for the requirement of our course, we will just focus on the Solow growth model. When you take a course in economic growth in the future, you will see that how this model will be expanded, right, to allow for other versions and other updates that were allowed to this first model on economic growth. Okay, so the main idea, I have actually introduced this model very briefly in our first or second class when I was telling you that economic growth, right, is a function of a certain parameter which we call A, okay, and then it's a function of capital accumulation and labor. And at that point, I told you we call this output, we call this technology, we call these factors of production, capital, and labor, right? And this is a function of. So function of or depends on capital and labor. And one big assumption in this model that we have constant return to scale. Okay, and constant return to scale, and also we will talk about diminishing returns to capital and labor. So I want you to watch the next 4 videos, and right after you're done with this video, I want you to do the attendance. So the attendance quiz password is OP50. So this is your attendance quiz password. You can do it right now and then start watching the 4 videos. All right. Again, if you have any question, please either post it under the discussion forum. I get a notification to my email, or you can post it right under the YouTube video. And again, I get a notification in my email. All right. Remember, next week you have the midterm, and as I mentioned on Monday, your midterm would cover topic 1 all the way to topic number 4. This current topic, which is this one, topic 5, is not included in our midterm. This one would be part of our final exam. All right. So again, watch and let me know if you have any